Hey everyone, welcome to the Indie Game Devlog number 7. In this video we're going to be looking at some of the new platforming level design and gameplay for two of the kind of vertical slice level tests, and I'm also going to be going over some level design and level development, and also a reflection on the sprints that I've been doing through Trello. I wanted to start off showing you some of the gameplay as always. I've worked pretty hard to get these environments going, and I'm really happy with the progress that I've made. So what I'm most happy about is that each level has a distinct start and end point. And so far in terms of the game, the start is of course when the doors are open, and when you get to the end point is when you actually manage to get the doors opened and run through them. For this kind of first test level, just testing out some mechanics, I decided to make it purely about jumping, movement, and also the attack button. So you can smash the crystal and the doors will open. Once the crystal's broken, it can actually lead to multiple effects. This could be either the door opening, or what you'll see in the next section is floating platforms which become visible and you can actually move left and right. So this is the second test level, and you'll see that I've got these 3 crystals here. Each crystal will have a different effect. I'm not 100% sure if the crystals will always shatter. Maybe Zara will just simply reach her hand out and interact with them. But at this point, I just made them shatter because it's quite easy with destructible meshes. And we've got that system back now, where you can move platforms. So something I mentioned ages ago in the devlogs is how important it is to me to have Guardian Zara interactions. And while this is a very simple way to show what I want to accomplish in the end, it's a beginning, and I'm really happy to have it in a level that you can kind of play from start to end that looks quite polished. So one of the key things I want to do here was just to show off that whole aspect of the game again. I wanted to talk about the game's production up until this point. It's really difficult when you're starting out with a game to figure out the overall direction. So what you've seen in these devlogs is me trying to figure out what the gameplay is, what the world is it fun, is it not fun, various things like the camera, should it move, should it be static? What should the player do? Should they just interact with the world? Should they have a bow? All of these questions arise from me looking at an experience that I want to develop. Maybe I'll get some inspiration, and in my mind I'll go, okay, I want to create a game with a character and a guardian. And I go to create that, and then it transforms into, alright, so I want the character and the guardian and platforming, or the character and the guardian platforming and combat. And each devlog has basically been me answering a question in my mind. Dash point. Was dash point a good idea? Was the Guardian's bow a good idea? Is it a good idea to have a moving camera or a static camera? And in each video at the end of each, not necessarily at the end of each week, but basically I'm experimenting, I'm prototyping, trying to figure out the answers to my questions. Because I could sit here all day and try and design the perfect game on paper, and then try and develop it and not iterate through development, but it's just not realistic. And my approach so far has been to prototype and answer these questions by playing it. And it's been really great so far, and to this point now, I feel really confident with the overall design and direction of the game. And one of the most important steps in this, which you may not think was important, was to really take a step back, take what I've built, and just grey box it. Like, add some boxes with textures as you see on the screen, and prototype some gameplay without anything distracting me. The camera, the art style, whatever distractions that can cause me to not focus on key problems, just throw them away and focus on what I need to solve. And the problems I really needed to solve were, what is the player trying to achieve in every level? Well, now I have that. The player is actually going from the first door where they spawn from to the second door. And that's easy for me to design and create around, and it's easy for a player to understand. get Zara from A to B, and well, what else can I do? Well, during the level, let's throw in some gameplay. Maybe this level just has platforming. Maybe this level has platforming, a little puzzle element, and maybe the next one is just purely about combat. So what I like with this design that I'm onto now is that each level can focus on a particular style of gameplay, and then I can mix up levels and make it really interesting for the player in the end. And as in terms of developing the game, that's really fun for me because I have these small spaces that are quite in scope for me to develop. They're not overly stressful. I can make a lot of interesting experiences as long as I can continue to come up with interesting mechanics. So I'm at this point now where development is not as stressful as it was before because I have a strong foundation that I can now build upon. And I'm sure I'm going to hit another point at some time where I may get a bit stressed about development because it's just natural, you hit walls. All this time you've probably been watching thinking, why is he trying out different mechanics every week? Or why isn't he just sticking to one thing? And it's because I think through this process what I've discovered, it's because you need to try out different ideas to see what works and what doesn't work. And when you come across something that does work, you don't automatically always identify it as something you should stick with. And it's taken a few months, but I'm now at the point where I realize what I need to work on, and now I can dedicate myself to that. And that's kind of where I am at now in terms of developing a vertical slice and then going into production. So the prototype phase is pretty chaotic. You can't just plan it. Like, you can't just draw a straight line on a board and write a timeline of when your prototype will be done and what you'll test. You really have to just let the prototype phase be chaotic, try things out, experiment. The most important thing is that you commit to testing ideas and asking questions and solving problems. And I'm pretty sure sometime during that process that you'll figure out what the core of the game is, or at least that's what I've found so far. So I'm really happy with this process, and now I'm at the stage where I have that foundation, as I mentioned, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And one of the most important developments in terms of, one of the most important practices that I've been following is sprints. So planning out a week of work and then executing that week of work. I'm much more focused, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm not falling into the trap of sitting staring at Unreal Engine is thinking, I should work on something, but I don't know what to work on. And it is really important, in my opinion, to plan out that week of work in advance. You know how many hours you've got to work, you have a clear goal for the week, you know when you sit down that you have something to work on, as opposed to not being sure of what to work on. And it's really motivating to tick off tasks and see that you're going through sprints. So now I'm up to sprint 3 and I'm going to be writing up my new tasks and archiving my previous tasks. And it's good to reflect on the work you've done. I think it's really hard to make a game if you don't at least document your tasks for that week and your goals and what you want to achieve, because you're kind of directionless. And maybe that works for some people, but at least for me, I need a strong direction when I'm producing. And once you get through that prototype phase, you kind of get a direction and you can really start planning a bit of your project. You can plan the week-to-week work and estimate the time it may take for each task. And it's working extremely well so far. So hopefully that information is somewhat useful to some of you. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really mean thank you when I say that. I know I say it at the end of every video, but it's important to say. It's really great having everyone's support. I know I don't know any of you personally, but when I read your comments, they give me a lot of positivity and optimism about the project. All the feedback is super constructive and useful, and I think it's important to have people around you, a good network when you develop a game. One of my biggest mistakes with the Journey to Steam series is that I treated it as if I was a solo developer. I wasn't looking too much at people's feedback. and I wasn't using the people around me in my personal life to help support me. So one of the best things about this game I'm working on is, like, I know some of you may think I'm a solo developer, but I'm really not. I have assets that I use from the marketplace. I'm going to have someone helping with music. I have all of you who help me with feedback about the game, and I have friends who I ask questions to all the time. Even you I've asked many questions to about the gameplay style and what you think. So I know this is an outro, but I guess one of the biggest mistakes in my entire time developing games is having a mentality of trying to do it alone. And I just wanted to mention that now for some reason. Anyway, thank you again so much for watching the video. I will see you all in the next video.